Donald Trump said 200 times as a candidate and as president that Mexico would pay for his beloved wall. We have yet to see the first peso. Fast forward to March 2019. Now the president is saying that Mexico is off the hook. The American military will pay for his grandiose scheme. This attempt to shortchange our military for the president's political agenda is outrageous. So Senator Schatz, Senator Reid, and I, along with all of the Democratic members of our respective subcommittees and committees, sent a letter to Acting Secretary of Defense Patrick Shanahan requesting a timely report on the impact of the president's decision. We think the Pentagon has to come clean with the winners and losers in this process and what the impact will be on our military and their families. We estimate that the Pentagon will be forced to delay 20%, 1 out of 5, of the military construction projects in order to generate the $3.6 billion the president is asking for. We have a list of all of the projects, and virtually every senator of both political parties has a specific interest in the outcome. At risk are nearly 400 projects in 43 states, plus projects in the District of Columbia, Guam, and more than a dozen overseas locations, including those locations with our allies such as the United Kingdom, Japan, and Italy.
Using military construction funds that Congress already appropriated for non-wall projects raises many questions about the Constitution, about military readiness, about what will happen to the 1 in 5 MILCON projects that won't go forward if the department defunds them to build the president's wall. But here's the question that I'm the most concerned with. Is the Department of Defense going to undermine its reputation for being nonpartisan? Will it allow its credibility to be diminished if it moves forward with this scheme? The Department of Defense has a role in this. They have discretion. They have to say whether or not the construction of the wall is in furtherance of the mission. But its mission at the border is to support Customs and Border Protection. They're already in a backup role, a role that is not permanent and does not take place along wall that is already built. So that they're saying that they need a long-term construction project for a short-term mission. They're taking emergency measures for a crisis that doesn't exist. This thing doesn't pass the smell test. Military construction is always done on a bipartisan basis. There is no drama when we appropriate funding for these projects, because we know that people can agree, for instance, that Fort Greely needs a new GBI interceptor field to stop a long-range missile, or that Fort Meade needs an access control facility to stop unauthorized vehicles from coming onto base, or Fort Campbell needs a new middle school so that their military families don't have to send their kids to a school that has asbestos and lead-based paint. But if the Department of Defense keeps going down this road and politicizes the MILCON appropriations process, it will hurt military families, it will hurt military funding, it will hurt our troops, and it will hurt our democracy. Congress trusts that when the Department of Defense asks for money, it's because they need it. But that trust may fray, and that is why we are sending this letter. We have asked, we have called, we have written to them for an explanation, because it just doesn't make any sense. And Congress has an opportunity to stop this week before it goes any further. Let me just flesh this out just a little bit, because I think it's really important to describe the Department of Defense's role in this. It's not that they're purely downstream from the declaration. It's that under this declaration, the Joint Chiefs have to come up with a determination and a recommendation to acting secretary. And they have to determine that whatever wall is built using MILCON money is in furtherance of the mission on the border. Now, this is already circular because we're deploying troops to the border and now saying we're going to build a wall in support of the troops on the southern border. But I think part of the point I'd like to make crystal clear is that the Department of Defense is in an impossible position. They really are in a tough position. They don't want to be political, but President Trump has forced them to be in this problematic situation. And they cannot avoid it by failing to give us information about which projects they're looking at cutting.